Welcome back to the Bo Travels channel. I am the Black opinionated woman, also known as a Bo. So, look, I just want to talk about a few things, regarding um, being a Black woman who travels, right? So, I'm trying to convince more of us to get out there and explore this world. Excuse the dark circles under the eyes. You know what? I have this inexpensive light from Five and Below. I don't even know if I have this on the right setting. I don't know if it's better. I don't know. Is that good? Maybe this is better. I don't know. So, look, let's get on into it. I just have a few tips. Now, I just want to say I'm biased. These are things that I like, but I think they're beneficial. I don't know. Let me put my glasses on. These are my blue blockers. So, look, let's just get on into it. So, this is going to be primarily for Black women who are in the United States, but this could be for anyone, anywhere. Number one, make sure you bring washcloths. I said it. I said it. So, like culturally, one of the things that we do here, and I live in the United States, okay? So, we're used to having a towel for our body, and we have another towel, maybe like a hand towel. And then oftentimes we even have a third towel for washing our body, right? There's the towel you dry off with, we call it, well, I call it the booty towel. And then there's the washcloth that washes the booty. But that other towel, there's a hand towel, and we use that for drying our hands. I would say maybe even drying your face. I think the biggest thing was when I was traveling, and this which is going to lead into my second point. But when I was traveling and when I would stay in hotels that were not necessarily Americanized, especially in Europe, they don't necessarily want to give you a washcloth. Now, as I've gotten older, I have traveled and stayed in a lot of Americanized or Westernized hotel, and a lot of hotels are getting used to that sort of thing. They do provide towels. I mean, hand towels, or whatever. But nevertheless, when I was younger and I wanted to stay in some of these places, they didn't always have them, especially in places like maybe like the UK or something like that, or some of the smaller like boutique hotels, maybe in Italy or whatever. So you would have to ask for them, and we're so used to living, in a Western kind of way, right? So I was like kind of like taken aback when I'm like, yo, can I get a washcloth? So sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't. I'm not one of those people who likes to just wash with my hands. So if you're not going to bring your own washcloth, bring like something that's going to exfoliate or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is that you use, right? But we're used to using things on our body because we want to scrub our body, we want to exfoliate, etc. Right? For example, I don't necessarily use like a washcloth or something for my face. I use it for my body. I have this little silicone thing I use. And I use it to scrub my face. It's like a little silicone little finger pad thing, and I like to use that as like a gentle exfoliator. But when you're traveling overseas, oftentimes they don't necessarily have like washcloths. Okay, so that's just me. So one of the things I would do when I got hip to that was I would just buy like a whole bunch of inexpensive ones, and then I would just toss them when I was look, don't judge. Okay, don't judge me. I know it seems wasteful, but I wasn't trying to bring them back, right? It didn't match my sets at home anyway. But all jokes aside, I would just say bring a couple of washcloths. And I think it depends on where you're staying, where you are staying. I can't get the words out. It depends on where you're staying too. But I was one of those people. I made sure that I brought washcloths. This past summer, when I was with my family, I'm talking about the summer of 2023. We took a cruise around the Mediterranean. We spent time on the front end of our cruise in Barcelona, and on the back end, we spent time in Rome. When we were in, it wasn't actually a Hilton in the town center in Rome. They didn't necessarily have washcloths. It was like they had them, but it was like a commodity. So one of the things we started doing was When the cleaning staff came through, they had washcloths on the cart, but they didn't have many. I guess you have to request it. So we took like a whole bunch of them. And we also went down to the front desk and we're like, can we have washcloths? But normally I would just bring some. I think the reason why this last time it just was kind of a little bit of like a whole cluster was because we made the assumption, being that we were at a Hilton in the town square in Rome, that they would have them. Nevertheless, so my second tip is generally speaking, if you want a certain life, like I don't want to say lifestyle, but if you want a certain type of experience or comfort, I personally have found that although some of the more boutique hotels are kind of cool and kind of cute and quaint, the rooms are smaller. Okay. I think you get less amenities and they don't give out washcloths. But all jokes aside, I've done both, but now I'm more apt to travel with, or at least stay in some sort of American chain. So we typically stay at like Hilton hotels because my husband is one of those diamond members or whatever like that. So we get a lot of perks, right? So we tend to go to places like that. Now, this is just a personal preference for me. In the beginning, I wanted to have the experience, but at the end of the day, I need my comfort. If I'm on vacation, I want to be comfortable. I want to experience that luxury. So one of the things, like I said, is me personally, I would recommend more of an American chain. You can still get the in-country experience of everything else, but I personally like my space. I like my washcloths. I like my amenities, even though I bring my own, right? That's just where I'm at with it. That's just where I'm at with it. So those are my recommendations. Make sure you bring washcloths if you want to stay in a non-Americanized, like a non-Western hotel. And even if you do stay in a Western hotel, it might be useful to bring one or two. And number two, I recommend staying in those types of hotels. That's just my preference. But like, I've tried both and it is what it is. These are just my thoughts. These are my both thoughts. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. I want to talk about hair for a second. This is the third one. So, the world is getting exposed to Black people in general, right? Like the world is much smaller. With the invention of the internet and social media and all that stuff like that, they see us a lot more often. Nevertheless, I recommend when you are traveling. Now, we're used to doing this when we go overseas to the Caribbean, right? Like we go to the Caribbean, but we want to get our hair braided or whatever because we know there's going to be water, et cetera, et cetera. But also, there's people who look like us. If we wanted to, we can go get our hair done there. Ultimately, what I would say is when you're traveling, um, it's not that they're not exposed to Black people, but for example, I would not, if I were traveling for any extended period of time, I would not go with hair like this. One of the things I would do is I would either wear it in its fully natural state, and I typically don't even do that just because I'd have to bring so many more products, or I would probably wear it braided. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with wearing your hair like this, but I like to travel for ease, and I don't want to have to worry about making sure that my curling iron has the right voltage and stuff like that, depending on where you're going, right? I don't want to have to worry about if I have enough products or packing products and, people going through your bags and opening up things to see what it like. I don't want to deal with that. So, me personally, I'm one of those people. I would recommend having your hair braided. If you're not going to wear it braided, that's totally fine. Well, then make sure you pack your products. Okay, I'm talking about hair products. It's not that you can't find stuff over there, I guess, but I don't go looking for it. I think it also depends on where you're going too. So anyway, these are just things that I recommend. Which the next thing I'm going to lead into is making sure that you have like the little, I call it the transformers, so like the electrical transformers, like all the pieces that you can plug in and so they can step down or step up the voltage, right? Because oftentimes people forget, and I'm notorious for getting stuff all the time. My husband always has a little bag of all the different things and whatever. But you want to make sure that you have what you need so that if you go or if you're going to a place where they're using a different plug or anything like that, you can make that conversion. Okay. Me personally, like I like to avoid all that. So if I knew I was going out of town or getting on a plane or going someplace, let me tell you something. I'm just gonna have my hair braided, but that's me. it's just something to think about. When you're traveling, you want to eliminate as many moving parts as possible. So I would definitely be one of those people who doesn't want. I don't like to bring curling irons and a ton of hair products, but that's just me. Now, moving on to what is this, the fifth thing? One, two, three, four. I think the fifth thing. I I'm more I know oftentimes we can be particular about what we're using for products. So I would say bring your beauty products. So you don't, because oftentimes you got to remember, depending on where you're going, the products are for the people who are there, right? So if you're going to a place that's not for, where people don't look like you, well, they're probably not going to think about things like, for those who care about, I don't know, hyperpigmentation or something, right? I don't know. That's a bad example because everybody cares about that. I just think that Black people have other concerns. Or if you're looking for your makeup, right? Well, chances are, I'm just making stuff. I didn't go looking for makeup in Iceland, but Iceland is a largely homogenous type of place where most of the people there are like really white. So I wouldn't go there expecting for them to have my shade of makeup, right? So I would say bring your products, bring the things that your beauty products. On the flip side, number six, I would say be willing to try new beauty products. Sometimes when you go to these places, they have some of the best beauty products. They have really good skincare, et cetera, et cetera. And when you think about it, oftentimes they are ahead of us in terms of fashion, depending on where you go. But I'd be willing. So it's kind of like, on the one hand, the fifth reason was, or the fifth tip was, to bring your beauty products and makeup and that type of thing, right? Because in the event that you don't find anything there that you like, you have what you need. But the sixth thing is be willing to try some new stuff. Sometimes you learn new things, you'll try new things, like you'll smell something that smells so good. Certain things might feel like they're gliding across your skin. Other things may not work for you, but you should be willing to try these things when you're traveling. All right, the seventh thing. Now, I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but I just got to get this off my chest. Nothing says noob like someone who travels super flashy. Actually, the more I travel, the least flashier I am. Like, you're not going to see, well, I don't have this, but you're not going to see me with like Louis Vuitton luggage. No, I don't need to be a Target. I don't even bring cute purses with me. I bring small little pouches and just normal stuff, or a normal bag that's not going to um bring any attention. Like, I think oftentimes people think that they have to travel and be fab, and actually I want to blend in. That doesn't mean that I'm not fab. It's just that I don't want to make myself a target, right? Like, I see people sometimes, they get on a plane and like they have on every name brand they can bring. I'm just like, child. So anyway, tone it down with some of this stuff. I mean, like, do what you want, but I'm like, who are you trying to impress? And this is the last thing. There's always so many things we can talk about, but this is the last thing. I want to talk about clothing for a second. All right. When it depends on, so when I was younger, back in my fit or finer younger days, I was super slim, trim, and I could fit into anything over there in Europe. We're going to fast forward. I'm 47 now. I've had four children. I got a diva cat and my husband. Let me tell you something. So sometimes my booty is bootying, and they don't, at least not in stores I've been in, they don't really make clothing for people whose booty that's bootying. Now my booty is not large and in charge, but what I'm saying is the way clothes fit here, if you have a little bit of curve or anything like that, it's just cut differently over there. So their sizes are smaller, at least in my opinion, because they eat less, they walk more, etc. For example, you know, I'm bigger than what I used to be, right? But me going over there, it's almost like magnified. So just be prepared that it's going to be a little bit harder for you to fit clothing there. And that's just because of the lifestyle, at least in Europe. But depending on where you go, it might be a non-starter. If you go to a place where they're wearing caftans all the time, then it might be a non-starter. I'm just saying, be prepared that when you go outside of the country or whatever like that, the clothing is not going to be in the sizes that we know. You need to read the tags to see what the conversion is in the UK, US, Canada, whatever, I don't know, whatever it says on a tag. All right. And just know that if you're thick licious back there or something like that, then it is what it is. They don't cut clothing, generally speaking, for like body types that. So I'm not saying I'm like out there, but what I'm saying is what I was able to wear then and what I wear now, which is the same thing here too in the States, it's different. Now, there's always going to be somebody who's going to give you, they're going to, there's an exception to every rule, and I get it. So normally, I mean, basically what I'm saying is just know that the clothing isn't going to necessarily fit the same. And it's okay. But let me tell you something. If you find something that's cute on you over there, then you should buy it. They have great fashion over there. So be willing to purchase a couple of things over there, but you may have to, work a little harder to find something. What is that one piece that's sticking up? Like, this is a whole situation. All right. Anyway, doesn't matter. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is a good time for you to go ahead and hit the like button and let me know your thoughts. All right. Let me know your thoughts on some of the things that I've said. I mean, and for those of you who look like me and you have traveled, I'm sure there's many of points that I have not spoken of or thought about, but go ahead and put it in the comments and let me know, like, if there's other things I should have mentioned, or just let anybody else who might possibly actually look at this video, let them know. Hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and subscribe and see you in the next video.